Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Can sing Radha Madhava also?
Yes, yeah.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
that is that. And then I also recently, like a couple of years ago, I started to perform samskaras and yagyas and like that. I recently finished a course in Mayapur for 2 months where I learned to perform everything properly, authoritatively, without having to depend on a book and just having all the mantras in the head. Because we had like mantra classes every day. We were repeating for 3 hours the mantras, so they stuck in the head. So,
but
yeah.
What is the plan now? Are you going to stay in Simrishamn?
Yeah, we plan to stay for till maybe October, November, something like that. September, October, November, and then we will go to India for some months.
Okay.
And then we plan to move to Stockholm.
To Stockholm or Alvik or?
First Stockholm.
Yeah.
And then we want to get closer to Almvik eventually. That's the idea right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's a very good place to have a family and like that. Yeah.
Too bad for us if you leave now, but maybe
Yeah.
you have to leave too.
Come back.
It's like so many dilemmas in life. So many ways one can go.
Yeah.
We actually moved down here for one purpose, and that was for my wife Elsa to take this course, this 3-hour art education.
So you finished with the school now completely?
Yeah, I finished in January.
So you
And it was 3 years.
vacation now or something?
And a lot of exhibition and
You're
having
going to
some
keep on having exhibitions?
Yeah, I had one now, and I'm having some planning courses. Like I've done some for children. I've done some courses, and I'm working on more artwork.
Paintings, yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Elsa is doing very good with the art. I mean, she's really she has developed a lot for the in these 3 years, and one can see that especially. And
Did
she
you
can do a
manage
lot of
to sell something?
things.
Yeah. Good. So then you can go to India.
Yeah, that's the plan with the Indian trip, that she will paint
Yeah.
different scenery in India.
It's about you, so.
Yeah, this is about me, but this is my extended me,
Like Hare Krishna.
the better half. Like they say. Okay, so that's a little about me, and so I said I studied in Uppsala. There I studied Sanskrit, and my teacher was especially a Vedic Sanskritist, as they say. So she was very much into Rig Veda and these oldest texts. And while I studied there, I came across, or I was confronted with these Western perspectives on the Vedas and on Sanskrit in general. Like very opposite of how we think about it. The history of the Vedic texts and where do they come from. For example, they think that the Vedas are just a product of different poets who wrote poems basically, and about there are verses in Rig Veda which talks about the dawn, and they glorify the beauty of the dawn when the sun is coming up, or something like that, natural phenomena and stuff like that. So they have the idea that this is just some poetical expression of the poets. So in different ways I was kind of pushed to look further, how we look at it. What is the Vedas for us actually? What is the history of the Vedas? Where do they come from? And what do they teach? Because they have a very narrow idea of what the Vedas teach. It's basically just rituals. And of course, that is also an idea which Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, Traigunya Vishaya Veda. The Vedas are only teaching about the Triguna, the three gunas. And he mentions also that they teach rituals, basically, like mostly. And then a little portion of it, like the Upanishads, they teach about the spiritual reality, like the soul and God and that. So it's just a little portion of the Vedas, apparently, that actually talk about God. But at the same time, Vedas are so important for us. We may not realize it because we have Bhagavad Gita, we have Srimad Bhagavatam, and these are not Vedas. They are actually, Srimad Bhagavatam is a Purana. So this is different from the Veda. And Bhagavad Gita is coming from Mahabharata. And Mahabharata is a text written by Vyasadeva. It's not a part of the Vedic text. If you have, maybe you have some idea of what the Vedic texts are. You know, we have the Samhitas. Samhitas are the hymns of the Vedas, like the hymns to different gods, to Agni, to Surya, to Indra, especially to Indra, glorifying these deities. And then you have the Brahmanas, which teach how to use those hymns in sacrifice, how to perform sacrifice to these deities. And then you have Aranyakas, which are more esoteric. They teach the mystical meaning behind the rituals. What do you actually do when you do a ritual? There is a mystical aspect to it. It's not just pouring ghee into the fire. It's actually some mystical thing going on there. So that's usually what you study when you go into Vanaprastha. You are finished with family life, you move into the forest. Then you study the deeper aspects of these rituals, which you have performed throughout your family life. And then you have the Upanishads. These are the fourth kinds of texts in the Vedas. And the Upanishads are directly talking about Brahman. And Brahman, when we say Brahman, the general meaning of Brahman is just the absolute truth, God. When we say Brahman, sometimes we think about this impersonal Brahman, and then there is the personal Brahman, the Krishna. But this is a more specific, like in a more general way, Brahman simply means the absolute truth. And that's how the Upanishads are speaking. They say Brahman many times, and it just means the absolute. So that's the Upanishads. So then the Upanishads are just small portion of the Vedas, and they apparently teach about these higher realities, God and soul and meaning of life. So why do I mention that? Because now I'm going to read a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, which is very interesting in this regard. It's a very famous verse. So, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritirjnanamapohanam cha vedaischa sarvairaham eva vedyo vedanta krit veda vedeva chaham. I am seated, this is 15th chapter, verse 15. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Now here's the point. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. This is Krishna saying that he is to be known by all Vedas. By all Vedas. Sarva means all. It doesn't only mean Upanishads. But as I said, the Indologists, these Western people who study the Vedas, they think it basically only teach rituals. Only rituals, basically. Except for Upanishads. And sometimes they don't even count Upanishads as Vedas, actually. They came later and like that. So these kind of views, which I was confronted with from my teacher. It really prompted me to go deeper. And now we have in our sampradaya, in our tradition, we're actually coming from the Madhvacharya. Madhvacharya lived in 1200 something, 13th century, right? So he is very strong on this point, that the whole Veda teaches about Vishnu only, and how to understand that, because as I said in the beginning of Gita, Krishna says Traigunya Vishaya Veda. The Vedas are teaching about the three qualities of material nature, Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. Now you should become free, you should become transcendental to those gunas, meaning you don't care for these Vedas which teach about three guna. Nirdvandvo nityasatvasto, niryoga kshema atmavan. So you should give up all this pushpa, what's the term? Pushpitam vacham. Yam imam pushpitam vacham pravadantya vipaschitaha. Those who are avipaschita, avipaschit means those who are not learned. They become attracted to this pushpita vacha, these flowery words. The Vedas are just flowery words saying, oh, you perform this sacrifice, you will go to heaven and enjoy for a long time. There are so many statements in the Brahmanas, like Jyotishtomena svargakamo yajeta. You perform this Jyotishtoma sacrifice, you will go to heaven. So Krishna says we should go beyond that. But then we have this statement, Vedaishcha sarvaira hameva vedya. I am to be known by all the Vedas. So how to reconcile that? That is a question. So we can look one explanation could be that these rituals that Vedas are giving us, they are meant to purify us so that we will become ready to receive this higher knowledge. That is one way of explaining it, that okay, the Vedas do not actually talk about God much, but they give us a process to purify ourselves so that we ultimately can take to bhakti, actually, understand the Supreme Person. But Madhvacharya, he goes deeper than that. He points to a statement in Mundaka Upanishad where it is said, let's see here, Dve tasmai sahuvacha dve vidye veditavye. So there are two types of knowledge which should be understood. Paracha eva aparacha. So there is the paravidya, which means the higher knowledge. And then there is the aparavidya, which means the lower knowledge. Higher means knowledge about God, knowledge about spiritual reality. And apara, the lower knowledge, means everything about this world and how one should live, how one should perform a sacrifice, and all of this. And the word eva there is very important. Paracha eva aparacha. So Madhvacharya explains that it's actually the same source of both of these knowledge, both of these vidyas. So the Mundaka Upanishad continues to explain Tatra apara. So this lower knowledge consists of Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvaveda, Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Chanda, Jyotisham. So these are the four Vedas, Rig, Yaju, Sama, Atharva, and then the 6 Vedangas, which helps to understand the Veda. So Upanishad says these are the lower knowledge. And then it continues, Rig, here, Ata, Para, Yaya, Tad Aksharam Adhigamyate. Now he explains what the higher Vidya is, that by which God is understood. that is known as Paravidya. And Madhvacharya makes it very clear here that it's actually the same type of texts that the Upanishad talks about. Because when the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda, and Sama Veda are understood in a way that it leads to God, the meaning is pointing towards God. If you understand it in that way, then it is the higher knowledge. Like, for example, one verse could be interpreted in many ways. The Vedas are not normal texts, not like human compositions like we do. When we write something, we only mean one thing. Of course, there is poetry also, where you can have different meanings or in one statement. But the Vedas are unlimited in meaning, both in the sense of they are unlimited in quantity. We only have a small portion of the Veda accessible to us. But then the meaning of the Veda is also unlimited. Bhagavatam says, Ananta Param. There's no limit to the meaning of the Veda. So one statement, one verse from the Veda can either mean it can prescribe some ritual, or it can glorify some demigod, we call it demigod, some devata. Some don't like this word demigod. Just means some devata. It glorifies Agni or Surya. But then you can understand the same verse as a glorification of the Supreme. And that's where Madhva really gets deep, because he wrote a commentary on Rig Veda. Rig Veda is the main, I can say, the biggest, like the most important Veda in a sense. It contains many hymns there. So this Apara and Paravidya, it's all dependent on our perspective. Like the same corpus of texts, the Vedic texts, can teach Aparavidya, the lower knowledge, or Paravidya, the higher knowledge. It all depends on our understanding of it. So to give some example here, we have the first, I will go actually to the first verse of Rig Veda, just to give a glimpse of this.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Yeah, but now I have been reading Srimad Bhagavatam and all these books all these years, so that is not Veda at all.
Okay, I will explain that.
I mean, you know, and I have learned, I read the Prabhupada.
Okay, I will explain that.
I mean, so I get a little confused. You know?
Okay, so there is the eternal Veda. Eternal Veda means it has no beginning, no end. The letters of the Veda are eternal, like Agnimire Purohitam Yajnasya Devam Ritvejam. This is first verse of Rig Veda. This is eternal, like it has never been composed by any person. No one has sit down and written it. No one has spoken it for the first time. It's actually called Shruti. Shruti means it's heard. It means no one ever speaks it actually for the first time. They only hear it. And even the rishis, from the Lord ultimately, from the, it's not even originating in the Lord. It's always, eternally existent in the Lord's mind. That's explained in Bhagavatam also. It's always there in the Lord's mind, and then He manifests it into this world through the rishis. These sages, in their meditation, they hear the Vedas because they are in deep meditation. They get in contact with this sound of the Veda, and that is only heard. It's not that they spoke it. It's not that they composed it. Although this is the Indologists, they say that they are the poets. They wrote or they composed these verses. But it's very clear from studying the Puranas, the Vedas, that this sound of the Veda is actually eternal. And the difference then with the Puranas, like we have, is that the Puranas are not eternal in form. Every creation, like the world is created and then destroyed, and in every creation, these Puranas come into existence through rishis also. They write them down, but they are never exactly the same. Like here in the Bhagavad Gita, we have Sarvasya Chaham Hridisannivishto Mattasmritir Jnanamapohanamcha. This is not exactly how it's said in every kalpa or in every creation. There are differences. But then Madhva also said that the meaning is eternal. I mean, what we study in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the meaning of it is eternal, and it will always be accessible in every creation. But the Veda, that never changes in a letter. Like every letter is always the same.
There was some example I don't remember, like of that in the Puranas changing, that there was some like mention of a king that only existed now, like mentioning of people that don't exist in every creation. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know what you mean.
I don't know. I just heard the same like explanation, and then they gave an example to what kind of difference there could be.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like,
it's called.
For example, this king is mentioned. That
Yes.
He's not eternal. He's just.
Yeah. It's called. That's one thing. It's also a thing like we have statements in the Puranas about the avatars, and sometimes it differs. Sometimes it's said that an avatar came through the nose of Brahma, and another place it said that the same avatar came in another way, or I don't remember an example now, but there are differences like in the explanation of the avatars. And then there is this concept of kalpa bheda, that there's a difference in the like every creation, it's a little different. And that's why it's also a little different in the Puranas. If you read in one place, it may be different from some statement in another Purana, or even in the same Purana, because it's not talking about exactly the same time. So in that way there are differences. So the Vedas are called apaurushaya, means they have no origin in a person. No person ever composed the Veda. Whereas the Puranas and Mahabharata, we have statements that Veda Vyas, he actually composed this. He is actually the author of Mahabharata, and he composed.
But where did he get it from? I mean, everything.
Yeah, it was his realization, his understanding, and he is, of course, Bhagavan himself. That's also clear in our Kali Yuga, or in our time. Veda Vyasa is actually an incarnation of Krishna, and he, of course, has all the Vedic knowledge inside of him, and he expresses it for our sake, so that we can understand.
Only the Sanskrit, that was what he has
Yes.
down in the Puranas.
Yes.
Yeah, and then later on came Prabhupada.
Yeah, translations of it. Yeah. So basically, the Puranas and Itihasas, they are there for understanding the Veda. That is stated in many places. That the Vedas are so difficult to comprehend, the actual meaning of the Veda. That's why these rishis, especially Veda Vyas, wrote for us, especially in Kali Yuga, the Puranas, Itihasas. So we can get very easy access to the meaning of the Veda by reading Bhagavad Gita. I mean, this is, if you read Bhagavad Gita, you get the essence of the Veda, Vedic knowledge. But what?
The book skönt.
Yeah. Yeah, I should have clarified that. So what I'm trying to talk about here is what is the connection? Because when we go to the Vedas, it doesn't seem to talk about what Krishna is talking about in Bhagavad Gita. So then, there should be some understanding of that. Um, Okay, so let me take this. Agnimire purohitam yajnasya devam ritvijam hotaram ratnadhatamam. So the basic meaning of this is that, oh, I glorify Agni. This is the first verse of Rig Veda. I glorify Agni, or I praise him, the god of fire, who is the priest of the sacrifice. Because he, Agni, the fire, he is actually the one who takes the offerings. You offer in the fire, he takes the offering and brings to the gods, basically. And then Devam, he is God. He is a Deva, means he is divine. The ministering priest, Ritvik means the main priest in the sacrifice. He who actually pours the oblations. So Agni is praised in this way. He is the Ritvik, who presents the offerings and is the possessor of great wealth, Ratnadhatamam. So now one could say, what is this, like, where is God here? This is just talking about some Devata in connection with the sacrifice. What's the big deal? So then we have actually one person called Yaska. Yaska, he wrote a Nirukta. Yaska is a very ancient person, like in ancient times. He wrote an etymology, like etymology of the Veda, and he said that there are three meanings of the Vedas that you can get from one verse. Adiyagya, relating to sacrifice; Adidevata, relating to gods; and then Adhyatma, relating to the self. So these are the three basic meanings that there may be more, but he talked about these three. So Adiyagya means you interpret the verse so that it has some meaning in relation to sacrifice. Adigdevata, then it will glorify some god. And then Adhyatma means it will describe some mystical aspects within oneself. Like soul, yes, Atma means soul. So it means within oneself, when one is performing meditation, then there will be some different types of upasanas that one do. This upasana means a type of meditation. And the Vedas are mentioning what's going on there within. That is the Adhyatma meaning. So this same verse can be interpreted in the Adhyatma sense. I will give just quickly, like this yagyasya there, yagya means sacrifice. So in the Adhyatma meaning, this yagya would mean the jnana yagya, the sacrifice of knowledge. Krishna actually talks about this in the 3rd chapter, or 4th. He talks about the different types of sacrifices. So in this yagya, this jnana yagya, then this Agni. Now what is Agni there? Agni means the activator of the bodies of all. And this is etymological. Like if you break up the word Agni, it means Angam Nayati, one who activates the body. Actually, it's like we are actually not the controllers of our body. We actually have the Antaryamin, the Vishnu within, sitting as Paramatma. He is the Antaryami. And he actually controls us ultimately. So that's the idea there. He's Agni, the activator of the bodies. And he is Hotaram. He delivers the oblation of sense objects into the fire of the senses. So this is the mystical meaning. Krishna talks about that also in Bhagavad Gita, that you offer the senses or sense object into the senses. This is a kind of meditation which I haven't done, and I don't know exactly what it means, but and then Ratnadhatamam, he is the supreme among those who possess happiness. So he will give the bliss. Like if we meditate on him in this way, he will give us bliss. So this is the meaning that you can derive from the same verse from Rig Veda, the first verse, if you take it in Adhyatma's sense. And now Madhvacharya, he brings another higher meaning called Paramamukhya Vritti, where you take the highest meaning of a word, and then it will glorify God only. So this is a little technical, but I'm hoping it may spark some interest in this, like the deeper meaning of the Vedas. That's that there is something more there, because otherwise we read Bhagavad Gita and we say, by all the Vedas I'm to be known, and then we may be curious. Oh, let's open a Veda, and then we read, you should pour the ghee like this, and then you will glorify Agni in this way. Like, where is God here? So that's the point of this discussion, that there is some deeper meanings behind these verses. And Madhvacharya, he actually wrote a commentary on 40 suktas of Rig Veda, which is very special for a Vaishnava to go and comment on the Vedas. It hasn't been done generally. Generally it's done by, Sayana is the main one who has commented, and he only gives the ritual meanings, only ritual meanings. And that's where the Indologists then got their meanings from, because they got it from Sayana. But now Madhva, he says, Agni, this can be broken up etymologically to agreniyate, which means the first one to be adored, or the first one to be glorified. He is the one who should be praised first of all, and this is God. I mean, he is the one who owns all good qualities. So he is the first one to be adored, and that's why he is the first word of the Veda. Agnimire Purohitam. Agni can also mean the foremost, or the first of all. Agriyatvam, he who is the first of all. That's only a Vishnu. He is the first of all. According to Vedic teachings, in the beginning there was only Narayana. So he is the first of all. Therefore he is called Agni. And then you have the third meaning, Agre Nayati. He is the prime mover of everything, of all, both souls and of all objects. He is the one who makes everything move in the material world. Like, without Vishnu, there is no creation. You have the Prakriti, or the primordial matter. This will not move without the Lord's glance. It's when Lord glances on it, then it starts to move and mix and create all of this. And then he enters into it, and then in this way, he is the prime mover of everything. Therefore, he is called Agni. So you see, he gives many different meanings that can be derived from this Agni. And it all points ultimately to Vishnu. So Agni Mire, I glorify this supreme person, who is the prime mover of all, the foremost of all, and the first one to be adored. Therefore, he is the first name in the Veda, the first word in the Veda, in the Rig Veda. And then these different, the next in this verse, we have...
There's a question.
Can you must have always say
Yes,
something?
yes.
I mean, I just start feeling so bad. I mean, I've been chanting for so many years and reading all these books, and this is maybe a little bit too much, you know.
Okay.
And have I missed everything?
No.
No.
You are. I will actually come. That is actually my conclusion. I will come to that point.
Thank you.
I want to add something just in the Bible to it. It's mentioned like the God came to the fire form. He manifested.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah, it is. Like,
Yeah. Actually, when we do the fire sacrifice, we actually see the fire as Vishnu himself. It's actually the tongue of Vishnu. And when we pour the ghee, it's like we pour the ghee on the tongue of Vishnu. This is a higher understanding of fire. Yeah. Agni Nayasupatara ye asman. In the Ishopanishad, this Agni also comes. It's a glorification of the Lord as Agni. I think Prabhupada translates it as "O you are powerful as fire" or something like that. So the next words here. So Agni means the supreme. Purohitam can mean Puraha Hitam. Hita means to be well disposed to someone. Hita. And Pura means since time immemorial. So Purohita, he who since time immemorial is well disposed towards all living entities. That's the meaning of Purohitam here. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna many times say, I'm the friend. Suridam sarvabhuteshu. I'm the friend of all living entities. And then we have Yagyasya Ritvijam, the Ritvik, the priest of the sacrifice. Here, he explains this as being immanent in the Ritvik. He is present within the Ritvik who performs the sacrifice. That's why he is also called Ritvik, because he is immanent in it. So this is how Madhvacharya does it. And then Hotaram, he is also immanent in the Hotri priest. So this is the kind of meditation one can do, that he is immanent in everything actually. In the Chandogya Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka, there's this Antaryami Brahmana where it's explained that he is immanent in everything. And then Ratnadhatamam Ratna means bliss. It can also mean wealth. It can mean wealth or happiness. So he is of the nature of unbounded happiness, or the possessor of all opulence. Ratnadhatamam. This is only Bhagavan, right? That's the meaning of Bhagavan. He is the possessor of the 6 opulences. This is the meaning of Ratnadhatamam. And then Devam. Devam means God, but it also means one who sports, one who likes to play. And that we know that the God is actually, he's not only all-powerful, all-knowing, all-present. Ultimately, he is playful, and therefore he comes down as these different avatars, coming through the nose of Brahma as Varahadev. This is a play, right? And then in his eternal abode, he's always playing also. This is also the meaning of Deva. He is playing. He's sportive. And this can mean all other things also. He is brilliant, he's delightful, praised by all. So this verse of the Rig Veda, in this way, can be a glorification of the Supreme Lord. Although superficially, it seems to be just a glorification of the fire god, explaining some, in relation to sacrifice. But this is just superficial. If by going deeper into the deeper meanings of every word, you will find that it ultimately turns towards God. And that's what Madhvacharya, this is just one verse, he has done this for 40 suktas. I don't know exactly how many verses that is, but just to give the method. He didn't do this for a whole Veda, because that would be a huge work. But he wanted to give the method of doing it, so that we can understand the Veda according to this. But of course, we will not study the Veda. Maybe a few of us will be interested to go and study the Veda in their origin, like the actual Veda. We have already so many, like the Bhagavad Gita, which is explaining the essence of it. Jiva Goswami, he explains that the Vedas are not even accessible to us nowadays. In Kali Yuga, we don't have access to all Vedas. And second of all, they are very difficult to understand. Very difficult. So to find the God there is very difficult. That's why Jiva Goswami says in Kali Yuga, the best thing is that you study Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, Srimad Bhagavatam is more authoritative in Kali Yuga in this age. Not because it's actually more authoritative, but because we can understand it. Because if we go to Veda, we will be so confused. It's a vast ocean. So to understand it, it's very difficult. Therefore, Vyasadeva wrote all this Mahabharata, Bhagavatam. There is a verse in Bhagavatam describing Veda Brahmatmana Vishaya Trikanda Vishaya ime Parokshvada Rishaya Paroksham Mamacha Priyam. First of all, it says, interesting here, Veda Brahmatma Vishaya. Vedas, their subject is the Supreme, Brahmatma Vishaya. Trikanda Vishaya, they are divided into three parts, Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda. And then Parokshvada Rishayaha. The rishis, or the Vedas, the rishis, they realize the Vedas, and then these Vedas, they are speaking indirectly, esoterically, Parokshvada. And then Krishna says, Paroksham Mama Chapriyam. And I like that esoteric presentation. This esoteric way, the indirect way of glorifying the Supreme, Krishna says, I like that. That's why the Vedas are there. That's why the Vedas are like that, because Krishna likes it like that. He likes indirect glorification of him. But then, and then Bhagavatam continues, Shabda Brahma Sudurbodham. This Veda is very difficult to understand. Pranendriya Manomayam Anantaparam. It has unlimited meanings. And it's also unlimited in quantity, like I said before. It's unlimited. Gambhiram, it's very deep. Durvigahyam, it's unfathomable. And Samudravat, it's like an ocean. You cannot begin to understand it. So that's why we have, Jiva Goswami said, Bhagavatam is written especially for us. And that's where we can access this essence of Vedic knowledge. In the in the first canto of Bhagavatam, it says, O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men almost always have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. And this, at least for me, I can say that I fit very nicely into this description. In Kali Yuga, we are very disturbed. And to understand the scriptures, especially the Vedas, we have very little power to do that. So, Sutta continues, there are many varieties of scriptures, many types of scriptures, and in all of them, there are many prescribed duties explained, which can be learned only after many, many years of study in their various divisions. Therefore, O sage, please select the essence of all these scriptures and explain it for the good of all living beings, that by such instruction their hearts may be fully satisfied. So by studying Bhagavatam, and Bhagavad Gita it's not different in a sense, then we can get the real meaning of the Veda in a very, very simple language, and we have the translations. It's not very esoteric meaning, like it's not that you have to break every word into the different divisions and then you say, oh, ag means agre and ni means nayati, and then it can, like that. You have the word, it means one thing basically. There may be some places where it has more than one meaning, but in general it's simple to understand, and we can then access this great wisdom of the Veda through these texts. Yeah, so that's a speciality of this Vaishnava understanding. Actually, according to the Mayavadis, those impersonalists, they think that, when I say Mayavadis, I mean Advaitavadis, those who say that truth is one, Brahman, and everything, this world is illusion. And they say that, or Shankaracharya says, that the Vedas cannot directly express Brahman. The Vedas cannot directly express the Supreme Lord, or the Supreme, they don't say Supreme Lord, the Supreme Truth. Because the Supreme Truth is beyond words, anirvachaniya, cannot be expressed. And there are statements in Upanishads which talk about that it's said that Upanishads are saying that, the speech try to reach him, but it just turns around because it cannot reach him. But then we have other places where it's said that he can be understood by words. And if he cannot be understood by words, why are there even descriptions of him in the Upanishads? There are descriptions of the Supreme in many ways. But the impersonalists, they don't agree with that. They say that it can only express the Supreme Truth indirectly through lakshana, which means like in an indirect manner, like you have the moon in the sky, and then if you want to help a person to see the moon, you point to the tree, the branch of a tree, because the moon is behind the tree, behind this branch. So you say, you see this tree, and then you go to the branch, and there you can find the moon. So in this indirect way, the Vedas are expressing the Supreme, according to Advaitavadis. Now, according to Vaishnava, according to Madhva, all Vedas directly express the Supreme. And that's what we saw now in this first verse of Rig Veda. And no, he doesn't even stop there. He says all words ultimately glorify the Supreme. And all sounds, Sarva Ghosha, this is very deep, all sounds glorify the Supreme. That is difficult for us to understand, but we can comprehend it that from the Supreme everything comes. Sound is the most subtle element that comes in the creation, and sound ultimately comes from God. So in that sense, all sounds somehow, I don't understand how, but all sounds ultimately glorify the Supreme in a way, like the flowing of the river. This is the vision of Madhva. So it's very like opposite. The Mayavadis say no words can express the Supreme. Madhva says all words, all sounds can express the Supreme. And that is a difference. So anyway, that is yeah. So that is understanding we should have of the Vedas, that there is more there, and they are directly coming from the Supreme. They are eternally existent in the Lord's mind. Yeah. Did you have some question?
Ja, alltså, jag vet, det är ju nog bara dumma frågor liksom, men
Nej.
då är det alltså, what we are reading is Upanishads, and that is part of Veda.
Mm.
And explain, alltså,
Yes.
and Veda, when you say to people, we are studying Veda, you know, and that means
Yeah.
vetenskap, eller?
Veda means, yeah, it comes from vid, means to know. So Veda means knowledge. That's one meaning.
Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, when you say, if you go to my Sanskrit teacher in university
yeah.
and you say, we are studying Veda here, we are studying Vedic knowledge,
Okay.
she would laugh at us.
Okay.
I mean, this is Vedic knowledge.
Yeah.
This is the essence of Veda, but she would not accept that. The general people don't accept that.
But she
They
knows
think,
Srimad Bhagavatam.
huh?
She knows Srimad Bhagavatam.
No, she knows it's there. I don't
Yeah.
think she has studied it.
Yeah.
She basically mostly studied Vedas. But the general understanding is that the Veda were written. These are ancient texts written by these poets. Poets, the Rishi poets. They composed these poems, and then later, so they have historical perspective. After that, they started to perform sacrifices. So they wrote the Brahmanas, which explain how to perform these sacrifices. And then there was some protests. They protested against these sacrifices, and they wanted to understand they wanted philosophy. So then they wrote Upanishads as a protest to the Vedic process, the Vedic sacrifices. So then they wrote Upanishads, and then later, like this is Vedic according to them, like until Upanishads. After that, they wrote Itihasa, like the Mahabharata, Ramayana, Puranas, and Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata. So that is disconnected from the Vedic tradition, according to them. But according to us, it's all connected. This is just a continuation. The rishis tried to make the Vedas more accessible, more understandable for us. So, in a sense, we can say, when we go and talk with people, we say we study Vedas, we study Vedic knowledge. That is true. But we should also have the understanding that they may be questioning that. And then we should understand why they are questioning it. And how, in a sense, this is different from the Veda. There are no Vedic accents in this. Like in this Agnimile Purohitam, this is accent. It has to be chanted like that. There is no such thing in the Bhagavad Gita because it's not a Vedic text. So there is a difference between Veda and Smriti, or Shruti. Shruti, Prabhupada talks about Shruti and Smriti. When he mentioned Shruti, he's talking about the eternal Veda. When he says Smriti, he's talking about everything that rishis composed to help understand the Veda. And it's good to have this distinction. What we are studying basically in the ISKCON, Hare Krishna movement, is Smriti. We have one Upanishad, Ishopanishad, which Prabhupada translated. This is part of Veda, part of Shruti. But everything else is Smriti.
But I mean, Veda is like eternal. It's been forever, this
Yes,
knowledge.
yes.
God is forever. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Apaurushaya. No one person ever created the Veda or composed it.
Okay.
Vacha Virupa Nityaya. Even the Rig Veda says, glorify the Lord by eternal Vak. Vak means speech, but it means the Vedas there. Eternal Vedas. Even Rig Veda says that the Vedas are eternal.
But how many books are there? I mean, Rig or Veda and all these.
Yeah, so basically it's you have 4 divisions:
Yeah.
Rig, Yajus, Sama, Atharva. These are the. Actually, in the beginning there was only one Veda. Madhva, I actually have it here. He says, Pancharatram Rig Adyascha Sarvam Ekam Pura Bhavat. In the beginning there was only one Veda, and then Pancharatra, this Vaishnava Smriti, Pancharatra, that was part of this one Veda. There was one Veda and that included the Pancharatra. And then it was divided into Rig, Sama, Yajus and Sama by Veda Vyas. It was Veda Vyas who divided it. This is explained in Bhagavatam, the history of the Vedas. So he divided it to make it more accessible, more easy to understand. And he gave Rig Veda to Paila, I think, Paila Rishi. Some Rishi took Rig Veda, some Rishi took Yajus, and then some took Sama. It was Jaimini. Jaimini was given Sama Veda, and then Atharva, I don't remember. So these different Rishis was given charge over different Vedas. And then in time, also these Vedas were divided. There are shakas, there are branches of the Veda. So Rig, I don't remember how many. Rig Veda have some, 10, 12, 20 branches. I don't remember branches. And then we have Yajus. That's divided into 2, Shukla and Krishna Yajurveda. And within each, there are different branches. And then I think Samaveda has 1,000 branches or something. So there are many different texts. If you
It's enough to read Bhagavad Gita.
yes, we don't need to go into that. You have so many different samhitas and Brahmana texts, and it's a whole.
And also one more important thing is Ayurveda.
Yeah, Ayurveda is a little different. I heard some statement that Ayurveda comes from Atharva Veda. I think I heard that somewhere originally. But that would also, I would be laughed at if I said that in the university. They would, Yajurveda is just some later thing. Yeah, and then we have Gandharva Veda. These different sciences, right?
And I mean, if they have, they have not read and studied Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and chanted Hare Krishna's name.
So what is their chance to?
Yeah, they know all the Sanskrit and they know these things.
Yes, it's very dry. They have no ambition to actually follow anything what they read.
No.
They just are touching on the surface.
Yeah.
They cannot actually get in because from the start they will not even follow the first instruction to go to a guru and learn from him. Or they have their gurus, their parampara, right? They have the different Max Miller and these great personalities. But that is, even the Veda says, Tad vijnanartam sagurumeva bhagachet. To understand this knowledge, go to a guru who knows Brahman, who knows the Veda, and then you learn from him. And you serve him. You come, Samit Pani, it said, you take firewood and you bring firewood to him. That means you do service to him. So that is the process. You cannot just sit and study Sanskrit and Veda.
Lord Chaitanya has given us the holy name, so it cannot be more easy than that.
Yeah.
I couldn't study, the name I can say, It's so wonderful and easy.
Yes. And everything is there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have some other comment, question? Yep.
I have 2 questions. First is more like this type of thing. So, are these Vedas available digitally, originals? Can we look at these plates and examine them? If yes, then where?
Probably, maybe in archive.org there is a lot of things there, but what we usually have is like edited versions that Indologists, although we are speaking very badly about them, they have also done a good thing to preserve, and they have edited very critically the Vedic texts, and they are available like in original Sanskrit. But you mean the original like leaves or something? That may be. I've seen some scans of these, but I think most of it maybe just in some museum or like some. Yeah, but I've seen some. At least we have of like many Vedas digitalized. Even in OCR, you can search through it, and it's quite accurate. I mean, that's also one thing about the Vedas are so well preserved through oral tradition. So what we have, we don't have so many differences. Like if you look at one text, there may be some difference, but it's very similar. Like if you have two texts of the same, two manuscripts of the same, it's basically the same when it comes to Vedic text, because it's so well preserved by the Brahmins who chanted this for many generations. So yeah.
Second question is why all this Shruti, as you name them? I think they operate the Vishnu, and even Vaishnavas are called according to Vishnu, like followers of Vishnu. But in this Smriti, Srimad Bhagavatam, we talk about Krishna. Why different names?
You mean why God is
Yeah, there it's
different
called
names?
Krishna, here it's called Krishna.
Well, in Shruti there's also Krishna.
That's what I mean. In Shruti.
Yeah,
Okay.
Krishna vai Satchidananda Gana Krishna Adi Purusha Krishna Purushottam. This is part of Shruti.
So it's interchangeable name, kind of.
Yeah, it's God have many names. I mean, so Krishna, Vishnu are just few. Narayana, it's very common in Shruti. Narayana. But yeah, Krishna, the name Krishna is also there in Shruti, not only Smriti. And Krishna can also actually be a name of Vishnu as like a four-armed form. It's also a name of him. But then yeah. But you have this Vishnu Sahasranama, which are 1,000 names of Vishnu. This is part of Mahabharata, and there you have Krishna, you have Vishnu, you have Rudra, you have Shiva, you have So these are also name of Vishnu. Even like in Shvetashvatara Upanishad, there is a lot of praise of Rudra. But Rudra is usually we understand it to mean Shiva, but we accept it as a name of Vishnu. Yes.
Okay, the last question from me. I mean, what do you think is better, to study in Uppsala in the university, or 2 months in Mayapur learning these other things? I mean,
well, it was two completely different things.
Men was it all both enlightened and upplyftande and?
Yeah.
I guess in Mayapur it was really fantastic. But
Yes.
in the university.
It was very nice in the university also,
Yeah.
because I learned very quickly. They are good at teaching things. So the actual language was very nicely taught there, and I learned a lot.
Okay.
And then because in Mayapur we didn't learn the meanings of the mantras, we just chanted them and memorized them. But when I studied in Uppsala, I could go and understand the meaning of it also.
Okay.
And I would not be able to do that without that. So that is one thing. I mean, the Mayapur course was amazing in many ways, but it lacked also understanding of the Sanskrit, like the understanding what it means. I had some questions to some people there, but no one knew Sanskrit. I could not ask. There were some questions about the mantras, how they chant in some.
I think it's more difficult to learn when when you don't understand the meaning. It's easier to learn when you understand the meaning, right?
Yeah, I also thought like that before I started with an actual. Yeah, I get your point. It's easy to understand. It's easy to remember because you associate with the meaning also. So yeah, I also thought like that some years ago, but recently my wife knows how much I'm practicing mantras. Sitting, she has to tolerate this. But I'm learning very quickly mantras by just repeating them. Even I don't think about the meaning. I just sit down and repeat like 10 times every line, 10 times, and then go to the next line 10 times, and then I do that for like 10 days, and then I automatically know it. I can just recite it like that, but I don't know the meaning of it.
If you're reading, how you get the right pronunciation in Sanskrit, right?
Huh?
Well, if you're reading, how do you get the right pronunciation by yourself? Because by the reading and the pronunciation is completely different.
Yeah.
So how do you?
So it's best to hear from someone.
Okay.
There are many good recordings available, but I have done it for some years now, so I know how to pronounce it. But it's in the beginning. It's very important to have ideally a guru who sits in front of you, and he says one word, and then you repeat the word 2 times. And then he says two words, and then you repeat 2 times. That's how ideally you learn Veda. That's how we did in Mayapur. You had a teacher. He said, Krishna vai Satchidananda Ghana, or he just started Krishna vai, and then you just repeat Krishna vai Satchidananda Ghana. Satchidananda Ghana, and then after like a few days they connect. So Krishna vai Satchidananda Ghana, and then you repeat. So in that way, by repeating and hearing, automatically it just sticks into the mind. This is how they learned all the Vedas as children. They didn't know any meaning of it. So, but yeah, the meaning also enforces the memory also.
So Veda is not Sanskrit is not a language. It's just verser, also verses.
It is a language.
It is a language. So you can talk to somebody and
Conversation, yes.
talk Sanskrit. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah.
But who is the?
But the way it's we have these accents, right? It sounds like singing.
Yeah.
Agnimire purohitam. This is not the way they spoke.
Okay.
It's not that I want to say something. Agnimire purohitam. You don't speak like that. These accents up and down are just ways to mark where the accent is in the word. So you have agnim. Agnim. The accent is on the gni. It's not agni. It's agni. And the way to write it, where is this accent? Agni. Then they have this up and down to help preserve the Veda, where the accents are. But they would speak like, this is actually, at least my understanding, because you don't speak like in the singing way. So, for example, Purusha Sukta, Sahasrashirsha Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat. This would be spoken like Sahasrashirsha Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat. So the accent is in a specific way, place in the word. And if you change this accent, the meaning of the word changes. There is a story in the Bhagavatam where I don't remember who it was, he wanted to invoke a demon who could kill Indra. Indra Shatro. Indra Shatro means enemy of Indra or killer of Indra. He wanted to invoke Vritrasura, to kill Indra.
Yeah.
But then the problem was, he should have said Indra Shatro. Indra Shatro, the accent on the last syllable.
You mean the demon should have said that?
No, the one who invoked the demon. He did some sacrifice. He wanted, oh enemy of Indra, come.
Yeah.
Indra Shatro. That's how he should have said it, because then the meaning is killer of Indra or enemy of Indra. But he said Indra Shatro. He put the accent on the first syllable. And then the meaning changes. It became one whose killer is Indra. That's the meaning of Indra Shatro. So he said it wrongly by Krishna's arrangement. And then this Vritra came and he got killed by Indra. Because he said it wrongly. He said it Indra Shatro instead of Indra Shatro. This is how accent is so important in Vedic Sanskrit. But it's not there in Bhagavad Gita, it's not there in Bhagavatam, in Smriti. There is no accent there.
I mean, it sounds really fantastic to learn Sanskrit, but it's too late for me, you know. I mean, I don't remember hardly 5 minutes ago. So,
Yeah, generally they start very early.
yeah.
And then they learn like Ashtadhyay, which are 4,000 sutras. They memorize the 4,000 sutras, which takes for children less than 1 year. Traditionally, they memorize the whole Ashtadhyay in less than 1 year. And then they study the Ashtadhyay for a few years. Then they study the Mahabhashya, the commentary on the Ashtadhyay. It takes a long time.
Yeah.
But that's if you want to understand everything. If you want to understand enough to read Bhagavad Gita, you don't need to study so much. It's 1-2 years, and then one can start to understand something.
If we have time, one
Oh.
question more. Thank you. Yeah, you mentioned in beginning of the lecture. In the Vedas they are just a little bit about the God and the Bhakti Yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And all the Vedas, they teach us or bring us much more close to the Bhakti Yoga, to the seeing, understanding or experiencing. All of us, we need to go through all this process to go to the Bhakti, to learn we are fire, we are water, we are all the elements, or mastering the elements. Or just we can go directly to the Bhakti and mantra and what Mohini mentioned.
Yeah, so there is the indirect process, which is the Vedic process. You go through this different sacrifice, doing the karmas. This is the indirect process. And you do them first with desire, because the Vedas say, you will attain happiness, you will get svarga, you will go to heaven, you will get good things in life if you do this. So then you get some inspiration to do it. But then by doing it, by following the order of the Veda, you will purify the consciousness, and then knowledge arises. Then you will no longer want the result of the sacrifice. You just continue it without desire, nishkama, karma. This process is actually explained in Bhagavad Gita also. Nishkama karma. You do the same action, same karma that's described in Vedas, but you do it without karma, without desire. And then knowledge increases more and more until you understand more and more about God, and then you can start to develop love for Him. So that's the indirect process. But you can also go directly to bhakti if you have a person who has bhakti and he gives it by by his power he can give bhakti. Like Prabhupada came to the West, to hippies who didn't know anything. They didn't follow any rules, even any rule in the according to Western standard. What to speak about Vedic. So Prabhupada came there, and they surrendered unto him, and they took it up fully, and they took up the lesson. So by meeting a person who has bhakti, pure bhakti, then one can go directly there. But Prabhupada also wanted to establish in society the varnashrama, this indirect process in a sense. Or I don't know to what extent he wanted to establish varnashram. That's always a question. But he wanted, because he saw that devotees gradually fell down again. They couldn't keep this pure standard of Vaishnava, the pure Vaishnava practice. So he wanted to give some process for them to follow, so they can stay
Or connect
on the
three forms you mentioned in beginning, like in or with Krishna or with
Yes.
Ritual.
yeah
Both of them.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, last question. I mean, I started, like a sort of a hippie, a different kind of life, and I started just chanting. I didn't know anything. Somebody just gave me their beats and go home and chant. And that's what I did. I didn't know what I was doing, I chant maybe 5 kuler every day or something, and then got more and more. And after 3 weeks, I was cured, I never looked back again to my old life.
Oh, wow.
Of all the things I did. So it didn't take long, I didn't even read, I just chanted, and not 16 rounds, just a few rounds a day. So it's so powerful,
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
And also simple. Prabhupada says simple for the simple.
Exactly.
For those who are simple, it's very simple to take it.
Okay.
But then if you have studied so many things, you have so many excuses. Like what you get by studying university is just so thousands of excuses to surrender to God.
I hated school, so I'm not school.
Yeah. But Prabhupada said one thing, sorry, it takes a little time is running, but in India you have these pujaris, right? They sit at the temple, and people come in and they give some charanamrita and take some donation. You sit at the temple like this. So there was one time some disciples of Prabhupada came to India, and one of such a pujari or something said that, "Oh, you are so nicely following the Vedic dharma, or like the Vaishnava dharma or something like that. Nice. In the next life, maybe you can be born as a Brahmin like me," something like that. And then they told Prabhupada that he had said like that.
To whom did he say that? To a guest?
To Prabhupada's disciples,
Okay.
who came and visited his temple. He said, "Oh, you are following so nicely.
Yeah.
Next life, you can be born as a Brahmin." And then Prabhupada, when he heard that, he said, how did he say it? He said that this Brahmin, actually, he met you devotees. And that's why he may get a chance in the next life to be born as a devotee or as a Vaishnava. So I mean, that's a kind of we shouldn't have this kind of idea that we are higher in any sense. We should respect like those who are Brahmins, really Brahmins. They are following very strictly the Vedas, and at least I can feel some great respect. Like I'm so much lower in a sense because I'm not following so much, and he since childhood has learned all the Vedas and stuff. But there is this understanding that this ultimately doesn't matter in the end. Like what actually matters, if we love God, if we know God, if we are close to God, that is what actually matters, and not if we are a Brahmin or not.
But the hippies at that time, they were so hungry and they were so fed up with everything. That's why they were,
Yeah.
intoxicated and everything. But then when Prabhupada came, and it was like the sun, God is coming, So
Yeah.
immediately, they transformed. It
Yeah.
didn't take long
Yeah.
for them. So yeah.
Yeah, that's power of pure Vaishnavas.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I try to do the same, it not go.
I think
Like
you
if
have
I
to-
sit down in the park and chant Hare Krishna, it's not that this will happen. It requires a pure Vaishnava for that.
You mean like Prabhupada did?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean that when a pure Vaishnava comes,
Yeah.
then people come in contact with him and they can immediately be uplifted to this Vaishnava
Exactly.
dharma.
Yeah.
It's,
And also when we meet like this, we also get uplifted somehow when we are together.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, because
Talking about
it
this.
can, sadhu sangha.
Yeah.
It's very nice. Okay, I think I should end here.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Jai.
Thank
All
you
glories
for-
to Srila Prabhupada.
Keep-
Jai. Hare
Thank you for a wonderful lecture.
Krishna. Check out the registered.
If you please, if it is okay for everyone, if you can do it little introduction about yourself. We did little in beginning,
Okay,
and
okay.
now they are little more. Yeah, devotees here, and we can record it.
Yeah, so my name is Jayesh Das. I have been in ISKCON for 10 years. I was initiated first 2016 by my Guru Maharaj in India, in Govardhan. So since then I've been practicing. I've been practicing devotional service for 10 years. And I've been a monk for 5 years of those. And now I'm married, so I've been married for 5 years, 4 years. It was kind of an intermediate period there also. I've been always very interested in scriptures, in the Shastra, from the very beginning. Even before I came to Almvik, when I just practiced by myself, I actually wanted to learn Sanskrit then also. And this statements of the scriptures has always been very, very important to me. Like the reason why I accepted Prabhupada as an authority was because he quoted scripture, and when I looked at the scripture, I could see what Prabhupada actually taught. That's why I accepted Prabhupada as an authority, ultimately. Like my intelligence wanted that. Of course, there was also the emotional attraction to Prabhupada. That was also there in the first of all. But yeah, the scriptures have been important, and that's why I started studying Sanskrit 4 years ago. So I was in Uppsala, and there I learned both classical and some Vedic Sanskrit. And I was a little frustrated sometimes by my teacher, frustrated on my about my teacher, and the Western perspective on the Vedas and Sanskrit. Just one funny example. My teacher said that the Vedas, or those who wrote the Vedas, they don't know what the ocean is. They didn't know the ocean. What is the ocean? They had no idea. Why? Because they migrated from Central Asia. They were these Aryans, they migrated into India some 3,000 years ago. And then they wrote the Vedas. And there is no ocean in between there. They couldn't have known about the ocean. But then you have in the Rig Veda, Samudra. You have the word Samudra in the Rig Veda. Samudra means ocean. It's just conventional word for ocean in Sanskrit. But my teacher said, no, this does not mean ocean, because they did not know about the ocean. They migrated from what did I say? Asia. So they had never seen the ocean. But then the Rig Veda even says, it gives an example, like an allegory. Just like all the rivers flow into Samudra, Rig Veda says, like all rivers flow into Samudra. What does Samudra mean there? Like obviously ocean, because all the rivers, they flow into the ocean. But my teacher said, no, it does not mean ocean. It just means a big lake or something. And I was, okay. My other students, I had 2 other students. It's not so popular to study Sanskrit these days. So 2 other students, they said, oh, wow, this is amazing explanation. Okay, it's just like a lake or something. And I was just sitting there silently like, what is this? I mean, it's just so obvious. So this was the kind of thing, many things that made me so frustrated, how they look at the Vedas and stuff. So then, although I got a little frustrated, I also got a lot of prompt to go deeper into the scriptures, how we look at it, how we see the Vedas, and how we see the rishis. What are the rishis actually to us? So since then I've developed a great passion for Sanskrit language, and now also the Vedic texts. I'm getting more and more interested in the Vedic texts.
And you are performing now some rituals?
Yeah, I should have said it. Yeah. So I also took recently a 2-month course in Mayapur, where I learned to perform these samskaras, which are purificatory action or rituals that one performs in different stages of life to purify one's life. Because although Hare Krishna mantra is amazing, sometimes it's not enough to help us stay on track and stuff. So we have this Vedic process, which is actually samskaras is a Vedic process. We do this name-giving ceremony, wedding, and there are so many samskaras that should be performed. So I learned that, performed the fire sacrifice. So I was there for 2 months. I recently came back 1 month ago, 2 months ago. And now I'm living in Simrishamn.
Have you done any yagya since you came back from India?
I did one Griha Pravesh, which is when you move into a new house.
Oh, yeah.
But then in the end, like when I came, he said, "Oh, I don't want a fire because my neighbor is coughing or something."
Uh-huh.
So we had without a fire. We had some puja. But I have 4 yagyas now in April in Stockholm. So I will
in April.
go there.
Okay. We had a yagya with fire in an apartment here in Malmö once.
Okay.
Because she wanted to move into the new place.
Yeah.
But it was all rökigt, the whole place.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, it is nice. It really purifies the atmosphere and brings devotees together. That's the most important thing.
But unfortunately, she moved a couple of years later. She moved away, and everything just didn't work out so well.
Prabhu, it's okay for you if we share your telephone number in the group, in the chat? And
Yes.
To contact you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Lord, thank.
Now we continue the program with the Aarti, and after Boga offering and Prabhu